Welcome to Module 2. Now we'll look at the type of sewing machine used for car upholstery. We'll show you how to use it, and later we'll explain what to look for when buying one, either brand new or used. We'll go step by step through the parts of your machine, how to set up and thread your needle and bobbin. Then we'll introduce you to the skills you will use to produce your new cover. You will learn about seam allowances, how to do a top stitch, following lines, and then you will have plenty of time to practice. And remember that we are here to help, so any questions, just ask. After receiving your machine, place the rest into the back of the machine table. This will be plastic or wood and will ensure your machine head does not flip backwards when you open it. The head is very heavy. Tilt it back slowly and allow the rest to take the weight. The well underneath is a sump for machine oil. Check that a filter is in place to prevent pins being taken into the mechanism. Wicks draw oil into the machine to keep it lubricated. Make sure the oil level allows the wicks to sit in the oil. Be careful when putting down the head. Now we will load the threads. First, the bobbin. Place the cop of thread onto the cop holder. The bobbin thread sits on the holder to the right closest to the bobbin winder. Thread into the hole from back to front and bring it down to the tension disc. Place an empty bobbin onto the spindle. Make sure it's pushed on all the way. Wind clockwise 2 or 3 times. Knot the cotton twice so it's secure on the bobbin. Trim the thread and push the lever. When the bobbin is full, the lever will release automatically. Next, the top stitch thread. Again, thread through from back to front of the cop holder. Bring down to a tension bar and on this machine, thread this way. Threading of machines will vary according to the make. On this machine, there are 2 tension discs. This needle is threaded from left to right. This is the top stitch threaded. Loading the bobbin into the bobbin case. Put the bobbin in with your thread going clockwise. Find the angled split in the bobbin case and pull the thread behind the piece of metal so it ends up in the small hole as shown. Check the thread moves freely when pulled. Pull the lever out and hold it whilst you insert into the bobbin case holder. Hold the thread and lift the foot with your knee lift. Turn the wheel towards you, keeping hold of the thread while the needle goes into the bobbin and picks up the bobbin thread. When you have a loop, sweep the scissors underneath the foot and pull both threads to make sure they are free. Trim the threads and place them behind the foot. Now for a practice. Turn on the power. This is a reverse lever. It does not stay down. It releases as you take your hand away. You use this when you lock off your stitch. The stitch length is adjusted by this dial. Press in and turn to the desired length. Your main tension disc. This is responsible for how loose or tight your stitches are. Your foot pedal. Pressing this works the machine. The knee lift. Using your knee lifts the foot, keeping your hands free to hold your work. Now we'll sew a straight line. Lift the foot with the knee lift and place 2 pieces of material underneath. Release your knee and let the foot hold your material in place at the edge. Press the foot pedal and your machine will sew. Keep your hands either side of the material, stopping before you reach the end. Turn the wheel until your needle is in the air. Lift the foot and pull away your material. Trim the thread, leaving at least 6 inches from the needle. This time we will practice locking off. We do this by pressing the reverse lever while sewing a few stitches, usually at the start and finish of the piece you are sewing. If you do not lock off, your stitches will come apart. Practice locking off a few times along your line. Now try a seam allowance. From the edge of the foot to the needle is 8 mm. We use this as our seam allowance. This exercise will help you to gauge that. Place a small piece of material under the foot. Sew to about 8 mm from the end. Using the wheel, turn it towards you until the needle is in your work. Lift the foot and turn the material so you can follow the next edge. If you go too far, reverse a stitch and then turn your material. Remember to turn your wheel towards you even when reversing. Keep practicing this, following the line or edge to get a good feel for following a seam allowance. When you're confident, try using a curved piece of material. We'll use 2 different feet on this machine to make this seat cover. The foot on the left is a piping foot. The foot on the right is a standard walking foot. A walking foot machine always has teeth on the base of any foot you use for grip. Be aware of this when you use vinyl or leather, as they are sharp. Feet come in pairs. To change to a piping foot, loosen the screw, fit into the gap and tighten the screw. To make piping, we use 3.5 mm plastic piping cord, and we cut 3 cm strips of material, in this case vinyl. It's made by wrapping your material around the plastic piping and sewing. Once sewn, you will be left with a flange the width of your seam allowance. Sometimes piping needs a join. Lay one strip face up and the other strip face down at a 90-degree angle, and sew from the top left corner diagonally to the bottom right corner, locking off your stitch. Trim the thread and cut along the side of your stitch, leaving about 2 millimeters. Lay the plastic piping on the material and wrap around. Place this under the piping foot, which has a groove for the cord to run under. The piping foot will hold it in place while you sew. Lock off your stitch at the beginning and at the end. Your finished piping should look like this. Now we'll practice sewing along a line. This is useful for sewing patterns later. Draw some lines on your material with a pencil. Place your material under the foot. Insert the needle within 8 millimeters of the edge, which is the seam allowance. Lock off within this seam allowance and follow the line. When you get to the end, lock off in the seam allowance again. Practice this until you are confident. How to sew a top stitch. Place 2 pieces of material right side to right side and sew a line 8 millimeters from the edge, locking off your stitch at the beginning and the end. This is your seam. Now place your material under the foot and open out so the seam sits underneath to one side. This is the side you will sew on top of. Use something as a guide on your foot. We've used the larger side of the foot edge along the seam. Lock off at the beginning and the end. This is a very strong seam. Keep practicing stitching on your machine until you feel confident.